I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand on the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon. Yes, Oriah, mountain dreamer. Hello and welcome to episode 335 of Namaste Yoga. We're doing a brand new series on poetry in motion, and today's class is on Oriah Mountain Dreamer's poem, The Invitation. Today we are in Uplands, in a beautiful park in Uplands. Thank you for welcoming me into your home as we journey into our innermost home over the next hour together. I'm going to start you in a supported fish pose as we do the opening of the show today and get started in our yoga class. So you're going to place one block tall for under your head and the other block long for underneath your upper back. And then you'll just rest back over those two blocks. So the lower block goes down to the base of your rib cage, and then the upper block just supports your head. And you can rest over that to just open up your chest and upper back, release your shoulders. You can just rest back here for the beginning of the class. Breathe into your upper chest and back and shoulders. So stay tuned all the way to the end of today's class so I can share with you where to go to get my gift to you, a new beautiful infographic of my top 3 benefits of engaging with poetry. I want to thank Squeezed Yoga Clothing for my clothes today. I'm wearing a long sleeve red bamboo hoodie and long gray leggings, and also thanks to Dusky Leaf for my props today. You're going to need blocks today. I have a speak pipe from a testimonial from Mary on SpeakPipe.
Thank you very much for the video about the vestibular system and why it's so important to move the neck. I appreciate all of the information. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary, and thanks to each and every one of you who take the time to leave your comments in our membership community on YouTube and Facebook, in Instagram, on iTunes, on Twitter. We love hearing from you, and we love hearing about your experience with yoga. I'm going to begin bringing our practice together with the Sahanavatu mantra, or the peace mantra. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this mantra means protect us together, student and teacher. May our studies nourish us together. May we work together in the union for the good of all. May our learning be luminous and purposeful. May we live in peace and harmony. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So this is the first class in our Poetry in Motion series, and this class is dedicated to Oriah Mountain Dreamer's poem, The Invitation. So as you rest back here in fish pose, supportive fish pose, I'm going to read to you Oriah's poem, The Invitation. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from the fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine and your own, without moving to hide it, or fade it, or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with the wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and to toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another, to be true to yourself, if you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul, if you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see the beauty even when it's not pretty, every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand on the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. So take a deep breath in. Let that poem sink in. I'm thinking if the poem doesn't resonate with you, then you're probably going to need to find another class, because in these classes in this series, we're just going deep with the poems all the way through. So there's like 300 others, so you can always click off and go find another now if this poem isn't working for you for any reason. Okay, once you roll off the blocks, then you were going to do half moon side bend on the ground to start to warm up your spine and start to move it in a lateral way, side bending. So you're going to line your back on the ground. Inhale, take your arms overhead, and let's just hold on to your elbows here. And how about we side bend to your right to begin, and breathe into the left side of your body. So as we rest back or as we experience certain poses, I'm going to repeat certain parts of the poem that relate to those poses. So on this side, it doesn't interest me to know what planets are squaring your moon, as we do half moon side bend. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it, or fade it, or fix it. So as we open to the side bend here, just reflect on how you open to your own pain and the pain of those around you. In the same way as we open to half moon side bend. And we'll come back to the center and open to in half moon side bend on the other side. So you're opening up the left side of your body. Breathing into the left side of your body. And then you can come back to center, experience your spine in a neutral position. Bend your knees, roll to your side, and we'll come up onto all fours. I don't know why I keep getting my wire underneath my clip and then that interferes with the sound. So just going to take a moment to get that right so that we have good sound for you. So come on to all fours and we're just going to do a little cat pose to further warm up your spine here, and then we'll do a little bit of balancing. If you have any wrist issues, come up onto your fists or come down onto your forearms. And then breathe out and round up through your spine, and breathe in and arch through your spine. Breathe out, round up through your spine. Breathe in and arch through your spine. Okay, from this position, we're going to do a few things just to practice some of the standing balancing postures closer to the ground. So you're going to take your left leg back to the back of your mat, your right arm to the front of your mat, and then you're going to lift your arm and leg, bend your left leg, reach around and hold onto your left foot, and then open up your shoulder. So this is just a little preparation for dancer pose, which is coming. Helps you to practice your balance when you're closer to the ground. And then release. And then we'll do it on the other side. So you'll take your right leg to the back of your mat and your left arm forward. And lift your arm and leg. Bend your right leg. You could stay there, or you could take your left arm around behind you and open up your shoulder. Okay, from here we're going to do a pigeon pose. So let's come into it from downward facing dog. Tuck your toes under, breathe in. Reach your hips up towards the ceiling. Reach your right leg up, give it a little shake and a wiggle. And then bring your right leg through and your left leg back. And you're going to fold forward over your bent right leg. And we're just doing this to release your right hip. So if this places too much pressure on your right knee, you could always lie on your back and take eye of the needle instead. Then take a deep breath in and slowly lift up. You're going to step back into downward facing dog. And reach your left leg up. Give it a shake and a wiggle. Bring your left knee forward. Reach your right leg back and long. And then fold forward over your bent left leg. And then you can slowly make your way up to seated, and we're going to sit just to slowly receive the teachings on this class. So I have a mudra for you. It's the Vajra Pradhana mudra. And it's really quite simple. You just interlace your fingers at the first knuckle, and then your thumbs point up. And then we're just going to rest that. It feels most comfortable at the level of your solar plexus, just about the level of your belly. Okay, so this increases your spiritual confidence. It promotes humility. It increases your commitment to your spiritual life. And it's a great mudra to use while expressing your desire for spiritual guidance or assistance on the path of spiritual cultivation. So I felt that worked really well with Oriah's poem, The Mountain Dreamer. No, The Invitation. Oriah Mountain Dreamer is The Invitation. So I am going to read the poem to you again. Going to offer a little bit of Oriah's intention behind the poem, a little bit of why I chose this poem to open the series and how it relates to me in my life. But I'm going to leave it pretty much open to your interpretation so that you can feel into the poem and how it relates to you in your life. I feel like poetry is such a great vehicle because it's a language of metaphor and it is so open to interpretation. And I feel like that is the beauty of it because it allows you to enter into it and take from it what is relevant for you. So it's not going to be tons and tons of teaching because I want you to pull from it what's relevant for you in your life. So allow yourself to listen and receive what is there for you. The invitation. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of a meeting of your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it, or fade it, or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes, without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself, if you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul, if you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it's not pretty every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after a night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else fades away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. In the spring of 1994, Oriah went to a party, an ordinary party, and in her own words, she made, quote, a real effort to be sociable. I think we can all relate to that. She asked and answered the usual questions. What do you do for a living? How do you know the host? Where did you study? Where do you live? Oriah said she came home with that familiar hollow feeling of having gone through the motions. When she got home from the party, she sat down to sort through her feelings. She used the format of a writing exercise given to her by another poet that we will definitely be meeting in this series by the name of David White, and wrote about the party conversations. She wrote about what did not interest her and what she really did want to know about herself and others. Oriah Mountain Dreamer says she, quote, went to the center of the ache for something more between herself and the world, and the prose poem The Invitation poured onto the page. So I think we can all relate to the feeling of going to a party, meeting people, and being met with the impossible task of getting to know another person and expressing the depth of who we really are in a short exchange. So I know I myself, I can't tell you how many times I aim to steer conversations away from, you're a yoga teacher? Or, this is a good one, you make money putting videos on YouTube? So in social situation, I usually just try and steer away from those conversations because I find personally for me, it's impossible to go to the depths of what I offer as a teacher and what I feel I offer as a communicator of profound spiritual teachings and spiritual wisdom. Through the invitation, Oriah offers the inspiration, the intimacy, the courage, and the commitment to live fully every day. She reminds us what she herself says she needed, quote, to hear again and again, that life is full of beauty and pain, that the world will break your heart and heal it over and over if you let it, and that letting it do both is the only way to live fully, that we are not alone, but deeply connected to that which creates and sustains all life. So in the show notes, I'll link to Ariah's website where she has a full copy of her poem. And I'll also link to an article where she speaks about the origins of the poem. But as you sit here, reflect on how this poem relates to you, or perhaps even how this poem came to be relates to you. And begin to form an intention of what you would like to receive from the rest of this yoga class, what it is you're trying to create, sustain, release, or rebirth in your life right now. And once you've formed your intention, you can begin to wiggle and stretch out. And we're going to make our way up to standing. So maybe we'll do that through downward facing dog. Okay, so from here we're going to do some breath of joy because Oriah speaks about being with our joy without holding back. So we'll do that. Just making sure I'm not gonna hit the, isn't this tree gorgeous? This is a Gary oak tree, and usually Gary oaks, they grow to be very old. So for example, Tim, if you pan over to that Gary oak tree here. So this Gary oak tree is probably incredibly old, but they usually don't grow to be that very, very big. So it's unusual for this Gary oak that I'm under to be so big. So it's just a real delight to be under this Gary oak today and to have it be so big. And then this branch is dead and these ones are alive. It's kind of like the poem. So Tim, when we were choosing places to set up, he wanted to set up this way. It's like, no, we have to do it under this tree because it's so perfect for this poem. So, okay, so breath of joy, the way it works is you inhale your arms out in front, then you inhale a little bit more, your arms come out to the side, and then you inhale all the way and your arms come overhead, and then you exhale and you let go. And to me, this just spoke so perfectly to these lines in the poems where you go to the tips of your fingers and down to the tips of your toes. So I'll read that to you once we get going. So inhale, 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 and exhale. So keep going. And Oriah says, I want to know if you can be with joy, mine and your own, if you can dance with the wildness and let ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes, without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. Okay, so slowly let's come up to standing, really slowly. Take a moment to let your blood pressure to equalize. And then we're going to do Nataraj dancer pose. So stand on your left foot, hold on to your right ankle. If you can't reach, you could use a strap. You can hold on to a chair or the wall. Focus on something that's not moving. And I'm actually going to hold on to the inside of my foot with my thumb on my big toe. That is a nice way to do it because it opens up your shoulder as well. And then pull your heel away from your buttocks. So dancer pose. So you can stay here. I've got this line of the poem for you in this part of the pose. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire. So Shiv Nataraj, the Lord of the dance, he stands in the center of the fire. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. So you can think about the Shiv in the Lord of the dance in the center of the fire. And it said that his dance keeps the entire world going. So let's try that on the other side as well. So stand on your right foot this time. Focus on something that's not moving. And hold on the inside of your foot with your thumb on your big toe. Reach your arm up. Pull your heel away from your buttocks. Then you can release that down. Okay, so for the next pose, you're going to need a block. So let's go on this end. I think we got more shade over here. Take the block and put it at the front of your mat and come into a standing forward fold. We're going to do half moon balancing posture. You could use a chair here as well, would be a good option. Come into a standing forward fold. You may not even need the block. You may have your hand on the ground as well. And you're going to lift your left leg up behind you. Focus on the ground. And open your left hip up. And then lift your left arm up. And it's easier for your balance if you keep your eyes on the ground. So let me try that again. So for this pose, it doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow and have been opened by life's betrayals or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. Okay, and then bend your knees. And let's come from here so that you're facing the long edge of your mat with both toes pointing forward. Roll your pelvis over your leg bones Roll forward into a wide-legged standing forward fold. Let your head drop and the back of your neck be long. And then we're going to come and bring your block over to the other short edge of your mat. And then we'll be able to do half moon balancing posture on the other side. So we're going to come into a standing forward fold again. And place your block underneath your left hand, or you can place it on the ground. I've moved my block down to a lower setting just because this ground is very uneven and the block's not balancing very well, but at least it lifts the ground a little bit for me. I'm going to lift your right hip up, drop your left sit bone, focus on the ground, and lift your right arm up. Okay, and then you can release that. And we'll come back to that wide-legged standing forward fold. So both your toes point forward on the long edge of your mat. Roll your pelvis over your leg bones. Let your spine be long and the crown of your head point towards the ground here. And I'll just read another few lines from the poem here. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. And then you're going to come down onto your mat so that you're going to come and sit with your legs straight out in front of you. Okay, and then bend your right leg in. Cross your right leg over your left leg. And you can stay here, especially if you have tight hips. Or if you can keep your right foot and your right hip on the ground, you can bend your left heel into your right buttocks. Okay, wrap your left arm around your right leg and turn towards it. Lengthen up through your spine. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else fades away. And then come back to the center, release your legs. And this time you'll slide your left leg in, cross your left leg over your right leg. And you can leave your right leg long, especially if your hips are tight, or if you've got good flexibility in the external rotators of your hips, you may be able to bring your right heel up to your left buttocks. Wrap your right arm around your left leg and turn towards it for the rotation, for the twist. Want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. And then come back to the center and release your legs out. Give them a little shake and a wiggle. Bend your right leg in. Open your right knee out to the side. Now, if your right knee is way up here in the air, then don't leave it hanging. Fill it. Fill the space with a block or a cushion. And you're going to lift up nice and tall. It can be helpful, especially if you're at home and you have extra props around, to sit your pelvis, elevate it on a cushion or a folded blanket so that it's easier to roll your pelvis over your leg bones here as you fold forward over your left leg here. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, and for the adventure of being alive. And then come up to seated. We'll switch sides. Extend your right leg out. Left leg is bent. Sit up nice and tall. Breathe in. Inhale. Exhale. Fold forward over your extended right leg. And I think this line got in here twice. So it doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I'm going to inhale, come back up to seated, and you're going to rest back in Shavasana, in corpse pose. So I'll get you to lie back. And tuck your shoulder blades underneath you. Turn your palms up beside you. If you have any low back issues, bend your knees and place your feet flat on the floor. Otherwise, you can have your legs out long. And you're going to rest back here, and I will sit up and give you one last reading of the invitation in its full chronological sequence. The invitation. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for. And if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or if you become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it, or fade it, or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with the wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes, without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another, to be true to yourself, if you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul, if you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it's not pretty, every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. So gradually allow your breath to deepen. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Bend your knees. Roll to your right side and pause there for a moment. And then slowly make your way up to seated. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 335 of Namaste Yoga. We are going to finish by gathering in the fruits of our practice first for ourselves, and then we will offer them out to the world. So we'll start with our left hand up and our right palm down, making space with breath and a sigh. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to the happiness and freedom for all. If you liked today's show, then please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to our show, then we put out a new free show every Friday. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube or iTunes, then it'll show up in your feed. If you know somebody who would like this, then feel free to share it with them. I want to thank Sean, Eliza, Viola, Ricky Ann, Olivia, Carrie, and Bene for your donations. We appreciate so much your support. It supports us in all the expenses that are involved in putting together this show and distributing the show and offering it freely to you. If you'd like to make a donation, there's a link here below. And today's questions to answer in the comments is we're going to be doing a series on poetry in motion. And I know a lot of people have poems that have supported them in their lives or particular poems that are really important to them. So please let me know if there are any poems that you would like to see in this series, if there's a poem that you would like to see me incorporate into a yoga class. So you can either put that in the comments or you can send me an email to info@melissawest.com, or if you're a member, you can put it in the membership community. Let me know. I would like to do some Mary Oliver poems, some David White, some John O'Donohue. Those are some of my favorite contemporary poets, but I know that you guys are a wealth of resources as well. So I would love for you to tell me what poems you would like to see featured in this series as well. And if you would like an infographic on my top 3 benefits of engaging with poetry, then go to melissawest.com/335. When you scroll down through the show notes, where I will include Oriah Mountain Dreamers, the invitation, there will be an opt-in box there. You can put your email in there, and I will send you an infographic on one of the 3 benefits of engaging with poetry. Just 3 of the benefits I feel that there are of engaging with poetry. This class had a lot of heart opening postures. It was all about opening your heart to life. And in our community, our membership community, we have a class that takes you deeper with these themes called the Warrior's Heart, that's based a lot on Jack Cornfield's theme of the Warrior's Heart. So through this class, we explore various warrior postures: dying warrior, warrior 1, warrior 2, warrior 3, and peaceful warrior. So each of these warriors represents a different aspect of the warrior's heart. We spend time opening the warrior's heart and breaking down the armor that builds up around our hearts. So I think this class is a great class that opens up the definition of what it means to have a warrior's heart. So there's also a link here to where you can become a member of our membership community. We'd love to welcome you into our membership community. I'm sending you much love from beautiful British Columbia. May your joy be as deep as our Pacific Ocean. May you be as grounded as the trees in our forest, and may you be as strong as our mountains. Om Shanti. Namaste.
Melissa would love to hear your questions and thoughts. Please leave your comments below the video. Thank you for your reviews on iTunes and YouTube. Your reviews help us to share yoga and a yoga lifestyle with others around the world. If you have a question for Melissa, you can leave a voice message at melissawest.com, and Melissa may answer it in an upcoming blog.